We are episode 6, right? This is 7. We gotta make it to 12.
This is 6.
This is
Yeah.
6.
I also like that now the video no longer captures the crotchal region.
Yes, we're like now
We're like
full,
squaring up
yeah,
money shot.
money shots. Like this little studio. $1,000 of tech in here.
Easily. Easily.
Fuck.
Pretty soon this room will be worth more than your house.
For a podcast that makes us $0.
Yeah,
Literally.
I think that's the best part.
Yeah,
about
that's the
it.
best part of it.
We're
Is
just
like,
gonna keep spending more.
well, you're not spending anything.
Not yet.
It's-
I'll chip in. Some.
It's $0 on the return on investment. This is what my business mentor would be like. Great investment, Dr. Blue. You're a great doctor. Terrible business person.
This is worth something at some point.
Yes, it's worth our being able to sleep at night, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so I just wanted to give everybody, because I've been pretty disciplined on this.
There's
Okay.
there's
I have an update for you today.
Oh shit, okay,
Yes.
let's do it.
The update is I'm at 175.5.
So that's down 9 pounds? Or?
Yeah, I was 184 coming back from Singapore.
And Singapore, to update our 3 viewers.
Yes.
How many weeks ago was that?
I came back on January 17th, and we are
almost 5 weeks.
5 weeks, and I've been losing essentially 2 pounds a week.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
It's almost like this stuff works.
Yeah, it's almost like this. I mean, okay, these are my updates on the journey thus far. One, I think that obviously lifting heavy has been. I don't think it's like the biggest game changer. I think it helps. Like, I think it helps to. You saw me. I was deadlifting 275 the other day.
Yeah,
and
that's I've seen you lift for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So I know your go-to weights.
Yeah.
This is outside of that range.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Heavy.
Like
it's heavy. It's heavy.
It makes me happy to see. I walk in the clinic and I'm looking at the bar. I'm like, what's this?
Oh. Yeah, it's heavy and I'm sore, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has helped immensely. And just kind of like changing your mindset about not having to like work out for a long period of time. Just inject it in whenever you can inject it in, which is what I've been doing. We've been injecting it in at lunch. I do it like in the morning, or I do it right before I leave. And I'll just like work up to a really heavy set.
Yeah.
Till I feel like I'm at my like close to my 1 rep max would be. And I'll just try to belt out 3 or 4 reps and call it a. And I don't like. I feel like I go a little bit more aggressive, but I also don't want to break myself on the.
We're in the early phases of you getting into more of a strength program.
Yeah.
And you know this, like in the beginning, volume is more important, just to prime the body.
Yeah.
So, from what I've seen you post, or if I'm there in person, you're doing everything great.
Yeah. Okay, the other thing I think is the biggest game changer is nutrition. And it's so true. You cannot outrun a bad diet. No. And so I've essentially cut out all the carbs. I mean, fuck. I barely eat apples anymore. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because I've seen your work ethic in multiple facets, whether it's like obviously the clinic, but also your if you're gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Yeah, golf, like everything. Yeah. So I shouldn't be surprised, like to come in and see like everything portioned out, everything like.
It's just structure.
Yeah,
and so I portion everything out. I make sure that, and it's actually quite easy. Like my food bills have gone like 1/3 of what.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so crazy.
Yeah, Brooke and I went through the same thing because we stopped Uber Eating because we were like, we are spending like assholes. Yeah. And then, we're eating healthier, we feel better, and we're spending less money.
I know. I don't really understand why people don't do this. But so like just as a routine on Sundays, what I'll do is I'll just go to Costco. I'll buy the big packets of like either like 93%, 7% like Wagyu beef, like the ground, or ground turkey, which has been great. Yeah. And then I'll put like a cup and a half of cauliflower rice into it, and I'll just kind of stir fry that with some curry.
Sounds good.
And then I portion that out I just do one packet, and I don't know how much is a packet. Maybe is it a pound? A packet? Probably. Most likely. And I just divide that by 5. That's all I do. Divide that into 5, and that's what I eat for lunch every single day, which is, will not deny this. It's fucking boring as fuck, and it's
in the beginning, consistency is easier. Yeah. So I always tell people when you're starting something out like this, just do something that's repeatable, consistent. Yes. And yes, it will get boring. But if you do it long enough, you'll get to a point where it's like shorthand, and then you can start to venture out and make more variety. Like that's where we're at right now. Is every dinner is different. Yeah, our lunches and breakfasts are very similar, but every dinner we try.
I think there's a lot of freedom in structure. So to me, not having to make the choice and just eating the same fucking shit it's just a mental thing. So it's been fine. I do get bored of it, but I also I hate the fat more than I hate the curry turkey.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like you have to remind yourself that.
You made a comment to me as I was editing another podcast episode, which will go live soon today. But by the time you see this, it won't be today. So. Yeah.
It'll be probably another month.
Woo holds me to a high standard, and I love it. You made a comment as you came by the computer the other day, and you're like, you just stared at yourself in the podcast episode, and you're like, I look fat in that. Yeah. You were wearing a similar hoodie. Yeah. We're trim now. Yeah.
We're getting there.
5 weeks it's incredible what you can do in 5 weeks.
I think it's really interesting to look at the metrics, because the metrics are saying I'm down to 175.5. Mm-hmm. I've only increased 1% in muscle mass, and I've decreased 2% essentially, because I was at 21%. Yeah. I'm at 18% now at body fat, and
that's so good.
Yeah, so it's the. Remember, and I even know this, which is muscle weighs more than fat.
And takes longer to build.
It takes longer to build. So you're going to see like a lot of fat has to come off first to even get like the weight change, right? Like, because fat doesn't actually weigh a lot. Comparatively, no. It's just like it takes up more space. It's like foam. Mm-hmm. So once that, like, you might be losing weight, but the actual size, like my circumference has only really changed like by half an inch, which you think like I've lost 6 or 7 pounds. You think that I'd be way smaller, but that's also like
where you're storing it.
Yeah, and it's through my entire body.
Yeah,
which you can tell like my face is
Your
less.
Face looks so much different.
Right, it's less. Yeah, it's less fat. And so, but it's like my stomach, I can tell that my stomach is still, I need to lose more weight in my fat, or around my abdomen. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's just a mental game that you have to continue to play with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it in, like, when we're talking about, like, body recomposition. The goal is recomposition, not just weight loss. And which is what you're seeing. You're seeing some gradual muscle increase while also getting that fat loss.
Yeah, and to add to the kind of nutritional journey, again, very regimented. I'll eat just literally poached chicken in the morning. Okay. Like I'll eat about 100 grams of that. Mm-hmm. And then I'll have a protein shake between lunch, mm-hmm. and then I'll have my turkey lunch, mm-hmm. and then I'll have my aminos drink in the afternoon, and then I'll have one stick of fucking the Trader Joe's beef stick.
Yeah.
And then I'll eat a little bit more carbs. So I'll eat like cauliflower with fish and some vegetables. And it's still way smaller portion size. And I'll try to eat that always at 6, and then I don't eat it ever again. And the other things that like no one really talks about is just you're constantly hungry. Like there's just I'm like hungry, but not always hungry because I am eating. A
little rumbling there.
Yes, and you're just like last night I was hungry after the hockey game, but it was fine. I mean, I just went to sleep. It's just mind over matter. I went to a bar yesterday, didn't drink, just drink water. Tough. That's tough. Is like when you're sitting next to somebody, who's like rocking fucking chicken wings and deep fried strips.
Love chicken wings.
Oh God, it would smell so good. But again, I just keep reminding myself, I hate the fat more than I love the chicken strips.
And you have to put in that time now so you can enjoy later.
Yes.
Because just so everyone understands, like he's not going to have to do this
forever.
This is to get us back to a good baseline, something to work with, and then we can get into more of like a maintenance mode. But the reason why you'll see someone who's very, very lean house an entire Gapco pizza is because they've been lean for so long that pizza does nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's just burnt off immediately. And so they give themselves more leeway. So the idea is the longer you can stay lean, the more leg room you have to have those cheat meals and not to be as, strict.
Yeah. And again, I've never been a person that has had difficulty with short-term pain, long-term gain. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just another practice of discipline and structure. Mm-hmm. It's boring, but I will be at this rate definitely ready for summer, and it won't look like a complete fucking slob in a bathing suit. So we're getting there.
I think for people that don't have that same mentality, the trick that I've used to help people is if you can find an area that you enjoy from a competitive standpoint, and you can try to frame it or find a way to make it into a little bit of a competition to give you that extra drive. Because I know, like, inherently you are a competitive person.
Yes.
You like to 100%. Win. And so, in a lot of ways, when you're approaching this, whether it's subconscious or not, in a way you're like, I'm doing this so I can win.
Yes.
Right? And that's how, I think that's how I am too. Like, that's how I was able to compete in a weight class sport is, like, I will do this so that I can win. So, if that's difficult for people, if you can find an area of your life that you are very competitive in, and you can try to fit this into that avenue, you can kind of trick. It's almost like a Huberman. It's like,
you can trick yourself.
You kind of trick yourself.
Yeah, I think social pressure. I say what I do what I say. Mm-hmm. Just announcing it to the public. I think all of those work to my advantage, and also just the last point on this, and then we'll move on from it, but. It's a sense of control, right? Like you're taking control over something that you feel like for me, I had lost control over it a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you lose control of your health, I mean, nothing keeps you more off balance than not feeling healthy. You know what I mean?
Statement. Yeah.
And being able to trap it back all in. Like, yes, there's a lot of things that I want to be doing right now, but I'm not doing them because I know that those are the variables that have created the uncontrollableness. So that part of just regaining it, gives you better boundaries, gives you better self-boundaries, give you better self-confidence. And I would implore anybody that's listening out there that's struggling, I know it's easy for me to say, but I am doing it, which is just bunker down, create structure, and every time you feel like cheating, just know that you're cheating on yourself, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a self-boundary thing.
Absolutely. Everything you're putting in your body is either directing you towards health or illness.
Yes.
And I know that's very black and white, but that is true. And it's not to say that we're not going to compromise. Like, everyone is going to compromise in life depending on where they're at and what stage they're in. But I think when you look at the unhealthy, like when you said like losing control a little bit of that aspect of your life, it reminded me that we experience pain in like a spectrum, and not every pain is like feeling pain, as in like you bump your knee and you're like, oh, that hurt, right? That's like pain. But when you lose control of your health, it's like an existential pain. It's like it's like this weird blanket of pain that's not like, you don't feel it, but you're aware of it.
Yeah, it's like an aura. It's like an aura of just negativity. That's what it is.
That's a great way to describe it. An aura.
It's bad energy.
Which that aura then it's in the background, kind of directing you. Sometimes you're unaware of it. Yeah. And I think that's why so many people they call it, oh, I'm in a rut, or I'm so, that is almost like a way for us to like try to describe what that pain is. So I think when you get out of it, when you start reclaiming that control, it feels so empowering and good. And it's like, ooh, this is this really good feeling. I didn't realize I didn't have this good feeling before.
Yeah, you just don't even know. You kind of just get submitted to this. Like you just get kind of submitted into it. So, which this is like a great segue to...
it is actually.
Yeah.
I did
wellness.
Not plan that.
This is a great segue to wellness, which is at the clinic we were. Oh, just one more thing I wanted to add in, just as like a distraction. We have a mutual friend named Brian, who was trying to derail me from my strict diet plan with enticing me with chili or with cheesesteaks.
I went right for it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, when?
Eric bit on that bait so hard. He was like, "Yeah, I'm free. Let's do it." And I was like, "Well, you guys can go, but I'm gonna eat my fucking disgusting curry turkey this afternoon." And he was just gonna fucking fill himself with all this fat and cheese.
And I immediately was like, "Oh shit, no, Woo's not doing this." And then
we're gonna talk about his journey in the next episode.
Brian made fun of us like we were a married couple. He's like, "Oh, if he can't eat it, I can't eat it."
Brian, we know what you were doing. We know what you were doing.
Yeah, almost had me there.
Yeah, almost.
First half.
Almost. He never had me, but he had almost had you. I had to pull you out of it.
Feel the cheesesteak? Swirl?
So, which leads us to, we were just kind of talking at the clinic, and Eric had watched this Netflix thing where he was like, if you want to watch something that's great,
but will make you cry,
you need to watch X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, we were talking to someone on the table, and so Woo watched it, and we had very different, well, we had similar reactions, but different emotional reactions. I think I felt more like depressed and sad, and I think you got hit more with you were angry.
I was pissed. I mean, I thought that. So the show that we're talking about is called Apple Cider Vinegar, and I mean, I would say both of us are pretty on the beat of pop culture and movies and media. Try to keep up to some of this stuff. We're going to start discussing more. This is going to be a part of our podcast. We're going to do like reviews of like, fitness, wellness stuff that might be in the media, that might be driving us crazy, or just like actual shit that you can buy.
Yeah.
You know what I want to try is like that stupid jaw thing where you put it in your mouth and you're like biting on it.
Mewing?
Is it mewing? I don't know. It was on Joe Rogan.
That's another documentary, by the way, about orthodontics. And it'll make you question modern orthodontics and the path we take.
Interesting.
But yeah, they talk about developing that strength.
Masseter muscle. So Apple Cider Vinegar, I'm going to let you kind of give the synopsis of what the series is.
Yeah, so the series, it's a true story, dramatization of a true story. And it's about this woman, Belle,
Belle Gibson,
who latches on to a story that she saw from an influencer, essentially, and creates a whole wellness brand on a lie, which is basically treating cancer non-operatively or unconventionally, alternative medicine, and that she cured her cancer and multiple cancers, and she kind of co-ops these stories from other people that she meets and kind of embodies them to the point that I don't even know if
she makes a statement that she had glioblastoma, which is a stage 4 brain tumor cancer that has a life expectancy of literally 4 months.
Yeah,
and she purports that she did some chemo, she didn't like it, and so she started juicing,
and then that other machine.
Yeah,
I forget the name of the machine.
It's basically a magnetic pulse. I forget what it is. That essentially not cured her, but at least put her brain tumor
and it's all
under
a scam.
remission. Yeah, I mean,
it's messed up.
She essentially gets found out that all of it was a lie. She can't reproduce any of the documentation of seeing a doctor that gave her the diagnosis, and she creates this multi-million-dollar mogul empire where
the whole pantry, right?
The whole pantry, yeah, which is just foods that are supposed to fight off cancer. Or I don't know if she like actually directly purports that, but she certainly infers it.
She had a huge book deal and a massive app launch with Apple.
Yeah.
And then it all comes crashing down. And the part that, so yes, it makes you angry because she's lying to people, but what makes you sad is these are real people with cancer that are taking her advice.
Yeah,
and having tragic outcomes.
Yes, very tragic outcomes. And the story parallels another girl's story who does actually have cancer. Yeah. And she has a cancer, which is a sarcoma, a rare sarcoma in her arm. And she ends up not agreeing with her doctors, and she goes to the Hirsch Institute, which is this institute in Mexico where they
we're gonna do a little red flag day.
Where they essentially have a structure of juicing and doing coffee enemas, and for a while she keeps her
she's able to keep her arm, which that was one of the main reasons she didn't want to do the conventional
She's 20 years old too. She's 20 years old, Australian. She's able to keep her arm, and she keeps it pretty much in remission for a couple
8
years,
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, sorry,
no, it was
a couple years, and then spoiler alert.
She dies because she ends up having the sarcoma ends up taking over her entire body, which is what the doctor said. The doctor said, if we don't cut the arm off, what's going to happen is this sarcoma, which you learn this in like first year medical school, you learn this in first year chiropractic school. You see a sarcoma, you are in trouble, and you need to go. It's fast, and it will be malignant real quick, and you need to make sure that you get it taken care of.
Yeah.
Or else it will spread, and that's what happened.
It spreads real fast, and then
into her lungs, into her kidneys, legs, and everywhere else. And there was a point where it was like it was too late. Like there was
the doctors tell her like, well, if we had done this when we originally saw you.
And that's what made me so angry.
Yeah.
I mean, the story also, on that side of the story, is she also convinces her mother, who has cancer, to forego radiation and chemotherapy.
The mom almost feels obligated because it's almost, and we can go into the psychology of this, but as a parent, I feel like the psychology is, I'm letting my daughter do this, so I should do it too, because it's a way of reinforcing the fact that I made the right decision.
Yes, you're just being ignorant at that point, because your ego wants to continue to feel like you're right.
Right.
And
that's where I got hit in the feels.
Yeah, I didn't. I was so angry because
so this is a true story. Like I think, and I have a problem with it. Only happens with true stories. I have to know, like in the first episode, I will try to resist looking up information, and then pretty quickly I'm like, I have to know how all this happens.
You have ADD. You can't let things unfold.
I know I can't.
Slowly.
So my wife's in bed watching the show, and I'm like, like I have to know everything, and then I come back in, and she's like, what did you learn? And I was like, you're not gonna like this story. I go, you're not gonna like where this goes.
Yeah.
And so I think knowing that, because I wanted to know which stories were based off of reality
All
and
of
what
them.
was for
All
the
of them
and
were
so
based
all of
on-
them were.
Yeah.
And I think then watching it unfold in with good actors, it hit me harder knowing like these two people are real people that died because of this. Like,
I mean,
the mom dies before the daughter.
I feel worse for the father because the father was like
seeing the father break down.
Yes.
That's where I started being like. It's just he lost his wife and his daughter to this stupidity.
I was more angry at that because he was so adamant about, okay, look, to his daughter, you can do whatever the fuck you just did with your mother. Don't let your influence your mother, my wife. And
so
he was
painful.
he was pleading with her to just like, please go to the hospital. Please, let's like talk to a doctor. And she, I mean, again, spoiler alert, she ends up dying going to the Hirsch Institute in fucking Mexico. It's, I mean, to me, again, and the other part of this...
curable cancers. All things that could...
Very curable. The other thing that made me angry was the daughter knew that her cancer had come back.
So she knew it wasn't working.
She knew it wasn't working, and she still made her mom do it. I mean, she just gave her mom a death sentence. And it's just like, it's so ignorant. It was so ignorant, and it was so prideful, and it made me...
It's almost like narcissism in a way, too.
Yes, it made me so angry. I mean, I thought it was sad, but I didn't cry. I was like more like, this is dumb.
That part got me. And then being a parent, once you have a kid, seeing stories done well that involve kids, I don't know, it just hits different. Like, because kids have such an innocence. There's an innocence to kids. So you're watching adults
make
horrible decisions that you know are going to affect this child for the rest of their life, and that it makes me angry and really sad.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing the biological father not having any
in reference to what he's talking about,
he's
again, his ADD brain has just jumped.
So Bella's high school, or Bella.
Bella's high, or Belle.
Is it Belle?
It's Belle. Belle Gibson. Belle's original baby daddy is a like kind of young dude. They got not married, but they had a kid real early in life. Yeah. And I mean, essentially the backstory of this story is that the backstory is no one wants this kid. Like Belle doesn't want the kid, and the father doesn't want the kid, and the only person that actually cares is Clive, which is this stepdad. It's not even a stepdad. They're not even married.
Right. Yeah.
It's this person that Belle has parasitically attached herself to
for money
and tech advice. Like, he was the main reason why the app ended up working the way that it worked. Mm-hmm. But he knows that she's fucking lying the entire time, but he's only staying in it because of the kid.
Which, like, that hits you in the feels too, because you're like, this dude he has no reason to do these selfless things for this child, and that made me sad, because you can see that the actor who plays him is in something else. He's an incredible actor. It might be Succession. He might be. I think
he's not in Succession.
What is he? Okay. Well, anyway. Producer.
Yeah.
Saki.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I felt bad for that kid. I felt like that guy was a stand-up guy, and he was stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was really trying to get the original biological father to take the kid, and then he was going to expose Belle. but the original father, the biological father, didn't. He wanted to go to Coachella more than he wanted the kid, which is like really sad. I mean, there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't have kids out there, and that's a good example of like, it's really sad that happens, but it does happen.
Yeah, the stuff that happens to kids that are outside of their control, it's tough. And the story does a great job. We talked about like the parallel story of the other influencer who is using a blog to post her journey, but then it also follows the journalists.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find a way
to pierce her lie. And
it gives you a little more understanding of a lot of times when you see the charges brought, you're like, why would they do that? And it's really fascinating because what they realize is the only way they can really get her is through
the charity
stuff. Is
she made a bunch of charity allegations, or she was like she was going to fund a bunch of charities and not a cent went to any of those charities. She just essentially kept it all for herself.
Now was another part that hit me hard is like the mom who their young kid has cancer, like a pediatric cancer, and they have this expensive surgery that she was counting on being paid for by this charity, and then the money's not there. And so like seeing her break down because now what does she tell her kid? There's so many elements of this that you just get so angry.
Well, I mean, again, Belle is
the worst.
She's the worst. I mean, the entire time I'm just saying this out loud. Like, you are the fucking worst human on earth.
It's true.
It's so true. Just because she ruins so many people's lives. It's a great example of what a narcissist looks like. She's just a complete narcissist.
Yeah.
And
like a
delusional and just a pathological liar. And I would say it is a great series. It's a great
awesome
series.
Job. The acting I thought was incredible. Yeah. The journalist, the journalist whose wife
has breast
cancer. He has a very emotional story arc in that, and seeing him work through all that, and I mean this story becomes personal to him because it's affecting his own life.
Yeah.
And so seeing him trying his best to like get this person to be held accountable, I think is one of the bigger parts of the show.
No, I agree. The last thing is I think this is just an interesting, like, my view of it is it's this interesting example, or it's an interesting vignette of seeing how we can lie to ourselves so quickly, and I believe, I mean, both stories are happening at the same time in the series. So you're seeing the rise of Belle Gibson and her empire, and then you're seeing Mila's journey, which is she has cancer. She doesn't do the chemo. She does the Hirsch Institute. Everything's in remission. She's trying to grow her company, but she's also like very stuck in her principles and ideals. But like both are lying to them. Like one has ill intentions, the other has the best of intentions. But once Mila starts to get to a place where she knows that her cancer is bad,
she can't change course.
She can't change the
course
because
it would be accepting the fact that she was wrong, which is so hard.
And so she doubles down, and she doubles down on her mom. She doubles down on being desperate and trying to find ways to put black salve on her fucking.
When you're facing death, it's a great example of our brains will find any way to avoid feeling responsible for things, especially if it's like detrimental.
Yeah.
And so we'll find these mental gymnastics to try to say, oh, maybe I was right. Maybe I was right. And instead of accepting the fact that I killed myself, is essentially what she has to say. She has to say, I'm killing myself.
They both essentially were lying to themselves. They both delusional. Mm-hmm. And just one, unfortunately, hasn't, she didn't live. And the other one, who knows where she is. I find it insane that we cannot find where she is.
Yeah, the last known whereabouts were some like
California. She was in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, some weird.
I'm only like
tribe.
There's a new documentary of like the real documentary of the.
That's coming out.
It came out. It came out yesterday.
Okay.
And I was a little bit binging it yesterday.
Oh, okay. So you have a little bit more information now.
Yeah. I mean, these are the real people around her, and.
So the friend.
Yes.
They got her.
Yes.
Who she's played by a great actress too.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but she was.
Yeah, she was good.
Really good.
Yeah.
The acting was incredible.
Yeah, I thought the acting was great. But yeah, it was just. It's interesting. It's so infuriating that. Well, I mean, it's also just a great observation of society today, which is. And I know this is a little meta because we're talking about wellness, and we're commenting on wellness at the same time. We're commenting on it,
but I think for our viewer,
right.
it's important.
This is for Brooke.
Look, this is the space that we eat, sleep, breathe, and so we are more skeptical and we will research more than the average person, I think.
Yes.
And I think the benefit we can have is helping people to know when it's healthy to be skeptical and when it's best to rely on hundreds of years of medicine and research. And not to say they get everything right. Like, that's not the point. Like, the scientific method was created to the test, retest, test. You're testing your hypothesis. Nothing is ever fact.
Yes, having an outcome measure.
Right. And so on one hand, it's unreasonable to hold doctors in the medical community to they need to be 100% correct all the time. That's not possible. But then we can't be so disillusioned and skeptical that we just immediately discredit them for being wrong once.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened is like, well, now we're learning this. Like, so can I trust anything? It's like, yeah. You can trust them
it's pretty solid.
They're pretty good at keeping people alive.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, of course, you're going to get some things wrong. And statistically, not everything's going to be 100%. I think this is a great opportunity to create a distinction between wellness and medicine.
Right.
And
preventative versus
after the fact.
After the fact,
yeah. And I do believe that we are getting to a place where medicine is pushing more towards like, let's prevent these things from happening.
Which is good.
I mean, here's a great example. It's like preventative medicine is watching your diet and also understanding that you may have the markers that predispose you to having diabetes type 2. And then
or had the BRCA gene or whatever it's for breast cancer.
And then going on to the other side of you're now having to take insulin shots because you already have diabetes type 2.
Like, imagine being like, I don't know about this insulin.
But that is a continuum, right? Like you can either, there's an inflection point there. You can either go down the road of having diabetes, continue to eat the way that you're eating, continue to exercise the way that you're exercising, and it'll push you towards the diabetes. Or you can know, like, hey man, you are like in a highly charged environment of like falling into type 2 diabetes. Why don't we like cut this and out? Let's start doing preventative things to make sure so that we never even have to go down this road. And that, I think that's medicine 3.0. Like, that's where we're going to push towards. And I think like that's where I see the distinction between like wellness and medicine is like wellness is more about like trying to prevent these things from happening from you. And like a part of like my own journey, the wellness part of it has a lot of allopathic medicine in it, right? Like I did the executive health screen because I want to be ahead of anything that might predispose me to having stomach cancer, ulcers, all this shit that can compound quickly.
Right.
And then you're 60 years old and you're like, I'm fucking, in your reactive mode. So I feel this mostly acutely because chiropractic is generally alternative medicine. Yes. there are,
sometimes we're fighting that stigma.
Right. There's a huge stigma with alternative medicine. But I think that my profession doesn't make it easier on us.
No. You're lumped into a group. Well, it's like with CrossFit.
Yes.
It was the same thing that I experienced. It's people like, well, you own a CrossFit gym? And now I'm like, I have the stigma of every shitty CrossFit gym that's out there.
Yeah.
Because they've seen some dude doing like the dumbest looking kipping pull-ups they've ever seen, and now they're like, oh, you do that? It's like, no, I don't do that.
Fuck. And look, I mean, in chiropractic, there's a huge range of doctors.
I posted that photo. What did it say? It was like magnetic therapy, and there was something else that said it would cure. Oh my God, there was something on the screen. Anyway, started derailing, but it was just like, you're like, what?
There are chiropractors out there that, in my esteem, this is just my opinion, and I might be lambasted for this, but fucking believe in some crazy ass fucking shit.
And it has a little bit of parallel to the Apple Cider Vinegar thing, because I think they have good intentions. They probably believe that
I don't know if they have good intentions. I think a lot of them have intentions of like, this is a business model, right? Yeah. So like, I feel like the red flags when you walk into a chiropractic office and they immediately are giving you an x-ray and then immediately saying like, let's put you on a plan for fucking like 8 months. Like, that's business plan. Like, you are just trying to execute on cash flow there. If they are trying to push, like, again, without even talking to you, just like, and this is going to make a lot of chiropractors mad, but there are some standard process nutritional chiropractors out there that are just like heavy on standard process, and like everything is either like magnesium or this fish oil or like this will cure you of this, like like they don't know
the hair test with the magnesium, calcium hair test.
Just like, it just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts because I get lumped into this shit, and I'm like, yeah, I think that those people are fucking crazy too. So
I was hesitant to see you the first time because I had seen like 3 other chiropractors. And one dude, it's like he's going joint by joint and he's like, I'm adjusting, getting everything aligned. I'm like, I don't know about this. Dude.
There's also those chiropractors that are just like, let's measure your fucking leg lengths, and you're off on this side, so like we have to adjust everything on the left side. It drives me fucking nuts. I can fucking get on my soapbox here and I could go on for fucking hours. But again, there are other chiropractors that so again, it's like a spectrum. There are chiropractors that are like super wellnessy and they believe in innate, and that means that they feel like I don't even know what innate is, like the spirit of your spine. I don't fucking know. And they believe that adjusting your spine is going to like balance your innate or let your innate express itself. I mean, I've been to some seminars where I'm like, I had to walk out.
I found myself in the wrong spot.
I am in the wrong spot here. And then there are chiropractors, such as myself, that only really care about how you move, what is the actual biomechanics, the physiology, the anatomy, the neurology around whatever is going on, and give you like just what I would.
We need to create a new term.
I don't know.
Because chiropractic is so like joint and bone specific, and I feel like 99.9% of the time in the clinic, we are very musculo-fascial.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say you're coming to see. I'm sports medicine. Like I can have a normal conversation with a sports ortho or a sports medical doctor any day of the week, and I can reference a million different studies. Yeah, and I can reference a lot of different cases. Where, it's like I'm very specifically very focused on sports and musculoskeletal injuries. Anything else, like, I just defer to other people, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you came in, I had a friend, she is like, my hips feel off. Like, can you just come in and adjust? I was like, no, because I'm not going to do that. And if you want somebody to do that, just go to the joint. It's going to cost you way less, and you'll get the same thing. It's just like, to me, in my soul, like I just can't do it.
Right.
I can't do it. I had another friend ask, like, do you want to do this auto injury stuff? No, absolutely not. Like, that is like, there are just whole industry of doctors that do auto industry. And again, another red flag is like, if this doctor takes auto industry, like auto crashes or injury,
insurance
and insurance, all that stuff, and they're also saying they're a sports doctor, they're not a sports doctor. They are just an auto injury doctor. And they're just like, yeah, I mean, that whole world is like icky to me. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And so more to say is, look, there's a play. Look, we live in a fantastic time where you can choose what your health care is.
Yeah.
You can choose. You can choose to go this route. I just want you to be as informed as possible and knowing what the differences are. And I agree, like, the medical system is no different because they're on a system of, like, insurance. So
lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
They're just running off statistics.
Yeah.
Like, what is statistically going to have the best result? So not everyone fits into that.
Yeah, like I have a young 23-year-old female SMU cross-country athlete where I wanted to get an MRI on her knee because I suspected that she probably has a joint issue. However, her insurance denied the claim because they were like, we need to do 6 weeks of conservative treatment first, and we also have to do an x-ray before we do an MRI. And when I talked to the nurse on the other side, on the insurance side, I was like, why would we do that? I just told you that all of my orthopedic testing, it's heavy on, there's a meniscal issue. And she's like, yeah, but we always, just for insurance policy, like, we need to do 6 weeks beforehand, and also we always have to do the x-ray just to rule out stress fracture. And I was like, yeah, but nothing about her history or nothing about her physical exam tells me that she has a stress fracture. Why would we undoubtedly just radiologically give her x-rays? Yeah. And she was like, this is just the way that we do it. And I was like, and that's, again, that goes to your point of, like, this is like a statistical thing. They just want to do a statistical, in most cases, yeah, I agree. Like, probably most doctors will miss the stress fracture. But I'm like, I practice this every single day. I'm very good at figuring out whether or not this is stress fracture because we do a long history. So all this to say is there's just a really big difference of wellness and medical. And as a patient, you should try to be as informed as possible.
Yeah, you want to make informed decisions. You're your only advocate. I learned, we learned, not the hard way, but we just learned through the childbirth process what that's like. They push certain things and you're like, why does my kid need Hep B or whatever the Hep is? Like, it's an infant. Like, I don't think he's going to get a blood transfusion or be dealing with, dirty drug needles. Like, I was just like, this is just odd to me that we have to do this. And I get it, because sometimes at these hospitals, unfortunately you get patients that come in that are, they're still testing positive for certain drugs in their system. Like, it's wild. So they do certain things just to be for safety from a statistical like large number of people. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing for each individual, which is why you need to be informed.
Yes.
So But moral of the story is, like, when it comes to extending life and specific areas of research, like specific types of cancer, like, they know their shit.
Yeah.
Like, they do.
They do. And there's also, I think, my takeaway is, I think everybody should have a little bit of skepticism and ask lots of questions. Yeah. And I'm not saying don't ask a lot of questions. I'm just saying know when you are being misguided and know the signs.
We should do